The Whisper in the Mist. In the remote hills of the Appalachian Mountains in West Virginia, USA, where jagged peaks rise like ancient guardians shrouded in perpetual shadow, lies the forgotten village of Hollow Ridge, year-round. A thick blanket of fog clings to the valleys like a living entity, twisting through the trees and swallowing the landscape whole. Cell signals flicker in and out, often vanishing entirely, isolating the village like a relic from another era. The locals live quietly, tending to endless cornfields that stretch into the haze, their faces etched with a perpetual wariness, as if they carry secrets buried deep in the misty earth. Whispers of old mining disasters linger in the air tales of cave-ins that trapped men alive, their souls forever restless. Alex, a 35-year-old investigative journalist from New York City, had stumbled upon Hollow Ridge through cryptic posts on obscure online forums. A string of unexplained disappearances plagued the area. Men, women, even children vanishing on the foggiest nights. When found, if at all, they stood motionless in the middle of the cornfields, eyes wide open in frozen terror, mouths sealed in eternal silence. No injuries, no signs of struggle, just an unnerving stillness and eyes that seemed to reflect horrors beyond human comprehension. Alex, with his sharp eyes and prematurely graying hair from years of high-stakes reporting, saw this as more than a story. After a brutal divorce that left him hollow and sleepless, it was a chance to escape the city's relentless noise and confront something tangible, or so he thought. Packing his backpack with a digital recorder, camera, and notebooks, Alex drove out of the bustling streets of New York, winding up narrow, fog-choked mountain roads. The mist grew denser with each mile, turning the world into a blurred watercolor. By dusk, he arrived at Hollow Ridge, the village emerging like a ghostly apparition. Weathered wooden cabins on stilts, roofs sagging under layers of moss, and the faint rustle of cornstalks in the wind. The chill air seeped through his jacket, carrying the earthy scent of damp soil and decay. Alex sought out Harlan, the village elder, a grizzled man in his 70s with a face like cracked leather from decades of harsh winters. Harlan's eyes, deep-set and evasive, avoided direct contact as he sat by a flickering fire in his dimly lit cabin, pipe smoke curling upward to mingle with the fog creeping under the door. "Hello, sir. I'm Alex, a journalist from New York. I'm here to look into the recent disappearances," Alex said, extending a hand, his voice steady, despite the unease settling in his gut. Harlan eyed him for a long, uncomfortable moment before shaking his head slowly. "Best you turn around and head back down the mountain. Son, this ain't no place for outsiders. Hollow Ridge, it keeps its own secrets close." Alex persisted, pulling out his notebook. "Please, sir, how many have gone missing? I've heard they're found standing in the cornfields, eyes wide, not speaking a word. Is it accidents, foul play, or ... something else?" Harlan remained silent, puffing on his pipe as the fire crackled. After what felt like an eternity, he muttered under his breath, "Don't go asking about the Whisper. The fog's thick tonight. Stay here, if you must, but don't step foot outside after dark. The Whisper ... it'll come calling for you." A shiver crawled up Alex's spine. "The Whisper? What do you mean by that?" Harlan turned his gaze to the flames, refusing to elaborate. Reluctantly, Alex agreed to stay the night, settling onto a creaky cot in the corner of the cabin. As darkness fell, the fog enveloped the village like a shroud, muting all sounds to a distant hum. Alex lay awake, listening to the wind moan through the hills and the occasional chirp of insects. Then, faintly, from the depths of the mist, it came. "Alex ... Alex ... Double quotes. He bolted upright, his heart pounding like a drum. The voice was soft, almost a sigh carried on the breeze, but unmistakably his name. "Who's there?" He whispered into the void, but only silence replied. Dismissing it as fatigue from the long drive, he tried to sleep, but the echo lingered in his mind like an unwelcome intruder. The next morning, the fog hung low, turning the world into a hazy dreamscape. Determined to uncover the truth, Alex began his investigation, wandering the narrow paths of the village and questioning the reticent locals. They were guarded, shaking their heads and casting nervous glances toward the cornfields. An old woman selling homemade preserves at a makeshift market leaned in close, her voice a hushed warning. "Don't wander alone in the mist, young man. The Whisper calls your name, and if you hear it, you'll follow without thinking. They come back as empty shells, standing rigid in the fields, eyes bulging like they've seen the devil himself, tongues tied forever." Alex scribbled notes furiously, his skepticism battling a growing unease. He pressed for details on the latest victim, Sarah, a 22-year-old local who had vanished 2 weeks prior. She was discovered frozen in the corn, staring into oblivion. With permission from her family, Alex visited her rundown shack on the village's edge, where the air reeked of damp wood and unspoken grief. Sarah sat by the window, her once vibrant frame now emaciated, her eyes locked unblinkingly on the swirling fog outside. Alex called her name softly. "Sarah, can you hear me? Do you remember what happened?" No response, not even a flicker. He touched her shoulder lightly, and she turned her head with an eerie, mechanical slowness, her dark eyes piercing straight into his soul. Though no words escaped her lips, Alex felt a tidal wave of dread crash over him, as if those vacant eyes were portals to an abyss of endless torment. He backed away, his skin prickling. That afternoon, compelled by curiosity, Alex ventured into the cornfields alone. The fog reduced visibility to mere feet, the tall stalks rustling like secretive whispers around him. He trudged along muddy paths, the heavy air thick with the scent of earth and ripening corn. In the distance, a silhouette loomed unnaturally still amid the rows. His pulse quickened as he approached, calling out, "Hey, are you okay?" It was a middle-aged man, his clothes soaked through, posture as rigid as a statue carved from stone. His eyes were wide, pupils dilated to black voids that mirrored the swirling mist. Alex shook him desperately, but the man remained frozen, unresponsive. Panic rising, Alex shouted for help. Villagers materialized from the fog like ghosts, hauling the man away with resigned efficiency. "That's old Tom," one murmured, "gone missing 3 days ago." The whisper got him good. Back at Harlan's cabin that evening, Alex confronted the elder, his voice edged with frustration. "What is this whisper, Harlan? Why do they all end up like that, standing their eyes wide open, silent as the grave?" Harlan sighed deeply, his pipe trembling slightly in his gnarled hands. Finally, he relented. "It's a curse from the old men-in days, back when companies blasted these hills for coal. They unearthed a cavern deep in the rock, a forgotten burial ground for souls lost in the cave-ins, trapped and screaming for release. Those angry spirits whispered names in the fog, luring folks out to the fields where they steal their very essence. The bodies wander back, but the souls are gone forever, leaving only eyes that have glimpsed the fires of hell itself." Alex scoffed, clinging to his rational worldview. "Sounds like folklore to scare kids. Maybe it's toxic gases leaking from the abandoned mines, causing hallucinations, or perhaps someone's poisoning them for some twisted reason." Harlan shook his head, his eyes filled with pity. "You don't know what you're dealing with, boy. The whisper knows your name, your deepest fears. It burrows in. Don't stay too long, or it'll claim you too." On the second night, as the fog pressed against the cabin windows like eager fingers, the whisper returned clearer, more insistent. "Alex, Alex, come to us, It was soothing at first, almost maternal, but laced with a grotesque undertone, like rustling leaves mixed with distant, agonized screams. Alex clamped his hands over his ears, but the sound echoed relentlessly in his mind, refusing to be silenced. The following day, refusing to succumb to superstition, Alex hiked deeper into the mountains toward the old cavern Harlan had mentioned. The fog thickened oppressively, and his cell signal died completely, leaving him utterly alone. Armed with a flashlight, his recorder, and a growing sense of dread, he navigated the rocky trails, sharp stones slicing into his boots like warnings. At last, he reached the cave mouth, a yawning black void etched into the cliffside, exhaling a chill that froze his breath. Inside, the air was frigid and stale, heavy with the weight of centuries. His flashlight beam danced across the walls, revealing faded drawings etched by long-dead hands, stick figures standing immobile, their eyes exaggeratedly wide and hollow, surrounded by swirling shadowy forms that seemed to writhe in the light. Suddenly, without warning, his recorder activated on its own, playing back a chilling loop. Alex, Alex, Terror gripped him like icy claws. He bolted for the exit, but the fog had sealed the path, turning the world outside into an impenetrable white wall. The whisper multiplied, echoing from all directions like a chorus of the damned, pulling him inexorably toward the cornfields. Visions flickered in the mist. Sarah, Tom, and dozens more victims standing sentinel, their accusing eyes boring into him. Alex fought the invisible pull with every ounce of will, but the whisper grew more personal, dredging up buried memories, his failed marriage, the bitter arguments, the crushing loneliness of sleepless nights in his empty apartment. "Come, Alex, forget it all, let go, He stumbled onward, hallucinating his ex-wife's mocking laughter and friends turning their backs. Deeper in the fog, he spotted unusual footprints leading to an overgrown cemetery, where weathered tombstones bore faded epitaphs from the mining era. Rough translations from snapped photos spoke of the mist wraiths, vengeful spirits of miners buried alive, eternally calling names to claim replacements for their torment. A young boy he'd interviewed earlier, Billy, about 12 years old, had shared a similar tale. I heard it call my pa's name one night. He just walked out into the fields like he was in a trance. Next morning, he was standing there, eyes like dead glass, not saying a word no more. Alex's camera had glitched during that interview, the screen filling with static and fleeting shadows, as if the device itself recoiled from the truth. Now, in the mist, those words haunted him. He pressed on, finding a tattered journal half buried in the cave, debris, a relic from a 19th century foreman. The whispers rise from the depths. They call my name in the dark. I see my men standing frozen in the fields, their souls devoured. The cave trembled then, fog surging in like a tidal wave. The whisper boomed, Alex ... stay with us forever. Overwhelmed by visions of his late mother gone, a decade from cancer beckoning him with a voice that was unheard. Alex clawed his way out, knife in hand, rope trailing uselessly behind. But escape was illusory. The whisper clung to him like a parasite, invading his thoughts even in the daylight. Back in the village, Alex journaled frantically in his notebook. It knows everything, my pains, my regrets. It's calling me home, and I don't know how much longer I can resist. Harlan had warned him that night, grabbing his arm as Alex rose toward the door. No, that ain't your ma speaking. It knows your burdens, uses M like bait. Those with heavy hearts are the easiest prey. Gradually, Alex's words faded. He spoke less, his eyes glazing over with that same vacant stare. The nightmares intensified. Himself in the fields, eyes wide, watching wraiths emerge from the fog, devouring souls one by one in a symphony of silent screams. In the end, the villagers found him standing motionless in the corn, eyes wide open, lips sealed in perpetual silence. Harlan sighed wearily, shaking his head. Another one claimed by the mist. But if you looked closely into Alex's eyes, really looked, you'd see an endless churning horror, as though his soul was forever adrift in the eternal, whispering fog. This story is pure fiction, born from the shadows of imagination. Yet, if you ever hear your name whispered softly in the mist on a foggy night, stay silent. Don't answer, for some calls are not meant to be heeded.